Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Titans. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So many different moving points. First and foremost, let's start with Starfire's side of things. Obviously, she ends up tracking down the baby she's been having visions about, and I am curious, why was it this specific baby? Why was this specific mother, what's her name, Capella, and her daughter, somehow Starfire was drawn to them, and in the process of protecting him from the guy that she owes money to, she ends up getting shot and has a vision of Tamarin and learns that she was born without the fire, and you're like, wait, you thought that was supposed to be Blackfire? You're like, okay. And so it turns out, like, it's like, oh, the next in line is supposed to have the fire and everything. So it's like, right, well, we need to lie to the people. Well, sometime later, Blackfire's born. Oh, she's born with the fire. But no, the one who's supposed to take the throne is supposed to be born with the fire. And we've already said that Starfire was the one. So Dad's like, oh, take Blackfire's power and give it to Starfire. Which even the witch who's doing it's like, not a good idea. There could be consequences. And it's like, are you threatening? It's like, no, she's saying that there are going to be consequences to doing this, and they're long-standing consequences. Maybe that's why they also treated her like crap too, is because it's like they hated her because it's like, you ruined everything. Like, you just had to be born with the fire. Like, that's why she was even more of a cursed child, because it, like, I mean, to be fair, you set this whole thing up. You're the one that, like, lied to your people. In their mind, it's like, right, that it was a necessary lie at the time to ensure peace, to keep people at bay. Because even, like, you know, the queen was like, you're the one that has to come visit my room with armed guards just to protect yourself and everything. So, you know, we have to do whatever it takes to appease, you know, the outside. And it's just, and maybe on some deeper level, on some subconscious level, on some part of Blackfire, like her resentment towards her sister, maybe there's deeper reasonings behind that, and that's like this power. Because now we kind of, because I was wondering, like, oh, was absorbing like her sister's power like that purple aura? I was like, oh, is that her power? It's like, maybe it is. I don't know, because the fire was always supposed to be hers, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe like she was just in a place where she was ready to finally, like, she was no longer putting herself down or just fitting herself in the role that she was set up to be, and now that she kind of let her guards down, kind of let go of a lot of that, she was finally able to kind of take her powers back. To be fair, this is probably the first time she's been around her sister in such a long time, so I'm curious, like, why now of any time? Like, why didn't she drain away at any other point in time? So why now? So, like, that's why I'm wondering, like, where Starfire developed some other abilities. We'll get that in a second. Like, maybe without her original powers, Blackfire started developing stuff, but now that the black flame has come to her, she doesn't need it. I mean, the flame has come to her, she doesn't need it anymore. So I don't know. Like, she's always, maybe it's just like little by little, she's always been trying to drain back her power, but now she can, just given the opportunity. Maybe that power always was just, oh, this power exists simply for the purpose of you taking back what was yours. So now it's a thing of finding out, like, right, like, I'm like, I got all this treatment and I was treated a certain way, like, and in actuality, it should have been inverse. Like, my sister should have gotten all the love and attention, because she's so, like, because of my parents' deception and decision to take away her powers, which are a part of her, and give it to me, like, that played into the special treatment. So it's like their roles would have been reversed. It's like everything my sister went through would have been me. I was just fortunate to be the first one born, and they decided to give they'd already set up this lie, so to keep their lie alive, they put her in this terrible position. So, but now Starfire, like, activated, well, not necessarily a new power, a power that was always hers. It just wasn't the flame. The flame is what's so important. That's what they look for in their next heir. But, like, she had another power, but it's just not what they were looking for. So now when we see what she has, it's kind of a bluish aura, but part of me is like, I wonder, is that going to be like, now we're seeing, is she going to transition to what is typically Starfire's typical powers, like in the cartoons and the comics? I've never actually seen her powers in the comics. I assume like the glowing green orbs she throws and laser beams she shoot in, like, the TV show. I'm sure that I'm under the assumption that that's her, because it works like that in the other stuff she's into. So I was like, I'd assume that's straight from the comics as well. So it's like, I always thought it was interesting from the very beginning that they decided to go down the fire route with her abilities, but it's like, okay, we were building up to her having her own, like, there was a story to be made of that, I guess. Like, I don't know if they always had an intention or whether as the story developed, they decided to go that route. Whatever the case may be, that's interesting to know, like, right, these are her latent abilities that have actually been hindered by her having this firepower. So now that she's kind of awakened to her true ability, it ended up healing her. Like I said, it's not the traditional green, but I'm wondering, will it shift or will it just stay this, like, I don't know, maybe as she goes more accustomed to it, it's going to be interesting to see, like, is it going to be like their more traditional, like, Starfire ability? It seems like they're setting it up to be like that, so that's definitely going to be interesting. But like I said, it's just, like, where are these visions coming from? Like, on some subconscious level, it makes sense to waking dreams and stuff like that, but now this, it's like, I guess almost dying, kind of like, I guess maybe it's a part of this spell to kind of like lay this latent memories in her head. Or maybe, I mean, because a lot of it, it's like, yeah, you were a baby, so there's no way you'd have a lot of these memories, but you were a little girl when your parents took Blackfire's powers and gave them to you. But at the same time, it's like, I'm wondering where those memories came from. Like, once again, like, a lot of people have been seeing some stuff recently that I'm like, who else could be behind that, you know? Like I said, I kept thinking it was Rachel, but I don't think it is. So it's like, maybe there's someone else at play here. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Whatever the case may be. But, it was kind of an important meeting. Like, you know, and that's why I'm like, someone kind of set this in motion because she had specifically the vision of the baby and everything. And I thought this was like, well, it matters subconsciously because it was like significant to like her situation of, being this, the situation of like the baby she probably kept seeing, the baby's representative of like, you know, Blackfire situation as well as her own, about kind of like the dark secret that their parents had. So I'm curious of what this means now, knowing what she knows. Like, maybe this information will be able to ease Blackfire's rage to some extent. Might even piss her off even more because it's like, so everything I've been through is your fault. It's like, yeah, it's a good thing I killed our parents then. Like, they took everything from me. They branded me this cursed child, and they're the one that made me that way. If anything, you're the cursed child because you took everything from me. What should have been mine, the life that I went through. Like, so it probably won't appease her sister. It probably, like I said, just piss her off even more. We'll see. She did say that she was going to go off and like have some unfinished business. Like I said, I thought maybe Connor, but more specifically that guy that was talking mad shit last episode. That's what I was thinking about. But I'm like, huh. Well, that still could be the case. But she definitely wasn't with Connor this episode. So we'll see what she's up to. Obviously, Tim is out and about, and he runs into Donna. It's like, hey, we're both alive. But they're trying to track down the Titans. And he's trying to get home, especially. But Donna's also heard that Chinatown is where the Titans have been holed up at. So they go together and they go to his family's restaurant. And, you know, they thought, like, the last they heard was Tim was in the ICU. He's like, no, I'm good. Actually, I feel even better because now, like, the wound on his chest is actually starting to heal as well. So, but there's no, like, electricity or, like, all the, well, they have electricity, but all the cell services and stuff have been down, like, in cities. You know, when Gotham goes wild, Gotham gives it 100% when it goes crazy. So, but luckily, Tim's got his own little secret base. I love his mom's like, I thought we had rice stored back here. He's like, I moved that. You know, it's like his little secret base where he's like hacked into stuff. So it's like, oh, I didn't know Tim was like the technical dude. Because apparently all this stuff is like garbage he salvaged and manufactured. And he hacked into databases and stuff like that. That's actually how he knows all about. I guess maybe he ran like maybe he just has a natural eye for it. But it could also be like he ran algorithms to compare and contrast. Like he had his own like detective mode, but he also like had technology to kind of back up a lot of what he said about like noticing like the similarities between Dick and Robin / Nightwing's movements and stuff like that. So, which obviously his parents are upset because it's like, wait, you getting mixed up in all of this is where you were. It's like, we were scared to death not knowing what happened to you, especially when they found out like, wait, this is you're one of them, like Donna being a Titan. And it's like, yeah, fact of the matter is I need your son's help. Your son can help us with all this. I know you got a lot of family stuff to deal with, but at the same time, it's like, this can wait until we kind of figure out what's going on. And it's like, this conversation's not over. And it's like, yeah, that went super terribly. It's like, maybe you shouldn't have waited till the literal worst possible time to tell your parents, hey, I've been investigating superheroes. Oh yeah, I've got all this stuff. Because even he's like, what, you guys think I stole it? And it's like, no, I made all this stuff. I guess it's like, because of their other son's circumstances, like maybe there's some correlation there of like why they just kind of potentially, like, I don't know. I guess because they don't think, it's like at this point where it's kind of like, wow, I guess we don't know Tim at all. If all of this is kind of under our noses that we didn't even know, so there's that aspect to it. But obviously the cops stopping by was kind of a little awkward, just being like, oh yeah, like, having people in here. And the moment they're asking, like, oh, you got any weapons to defend yourself? I'm like, should they be worrying about that? Shouldn't you be there to defend? It's like, yeah, we'll stop by around. But it's like, it was a little weird. And so Tim's brother is saying, like, right, like he's got people on the inside of the GCPD, and it's like how long Scarecrow had a lot of people on the payroll. Like, we saw everything last episode, like, was that, because I assumed that was just like a more recent thing, but maybe it's been happening in a back burner for a while, and it's like, right, I need you to go, like, go in the action. I mean, it could just be like in the time frame since Gotham went crazy, he's decided to pay off everyone. Maybe when that detective got visited last episode of when Barbara killed, like maybe Jason had made like visits to other cops as well. We just didn't see it. But now it's a conversation about like how to, like, because Tim wants Donna to go help Nightwing with, you know, everything with Jason, which we'll get to soon enough. But she didn't want to leave them to kind of defend themselves, you know, because Tim's like, yeah, this is what I came back for, to protect my home. This is my block. You know, I'm going to protect it. But Donna's like, right, like, I was literally trained to lead an army of 5 against 50 or 50 against 500, because it would mean rallying the entire city. Like, because obviously these sales are going to get knocked out. Like, Scarecrow was knocking down anyone that's, like, I guess still not, like, under the influence of the water, like these neighborhoods and stuff like that. And anyone that could pose a resistance. You know, it's like, if you're not with the program and running crazy from the water, then you're an issue that needs to be taken out. There's, like, the whole, like, right, there are obviously, like, armed to the teeth and stuff like that going to be an issue. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where things kind of take us going forward with that. But, you know, it makes a lot of sense. Last episode and everything about, right, you were meant to, you know, what Donna's destiny holds for her, leading, you know, the charge and everything, and now it's like that's coming to fruition. So there's that side of things. Then we also have, you know, Dick dealing with the fact is that can't get in contact with everyone else, and then you have Red Hood being like, yo, post it up from the Batcave. It's like, yeah, I'm calling out Nightwing because it's just sad that you just can't see. He just caught up. Essentially, he's just so far up his own ass with his own bullshit of, you know, being scared, and just rather than facing a lot of, like, he just held so much anger and resentment, and now she's lashing out like this. But the fact is that it's like you can't see Jonathan Crane for the literal, like, crazy person that he is, because I love that he's literally shaving at the beginning, singing along to TLC. I was like, that's okay. Never thought I'd see that, like, a live action, like, Batman villain singing along to TLC. That's amazing. But nevertheless, like, he goes into the Batcave. He's like, all right, let me hear what Brucey Bruce had to say about me. And then, like, Bruce is basically tearing him a new asshole by calling him the most pitiful of all the villains. Because I didn't know this traditionally was the thing about Scarecrow. And I think there's some storylines of stuff I've come across that have maybe dabbled with this. But essentially, it seems like he has two... Like, his alter ego is kind of a personality in its own right. He doesn't have necessarily... I don't know if you would necessarily call it, like, maybe almost like a dissociative situation of, like, Jonathan Crane himself could never handle all, like, the legwork of what Scarecrow is. Like, who is a Scarecrow? There's Scarecrow, and then there's Jonathan Crane. So that's what it's... My understanding of it was that. So it's like, all, like, the badass villainy stuff he's ever done has been Scarecrow, and that he's always been weak, and it kind of plays into what... Because Bruce is saying, like, right, the abuse and neglect he received, and I'm assuming that kind of ties in maybe with his father, some of that with his mother. I mean, he did go through the trouble of murdering his own mom. It's like, now it's interesting. You probably had plenty of opportunities to do it before, but I guess it's like all that plus your mom sold you out. It's like, how could you? All you've done to me, you want to act like I'm crazy. You're the reason why I'm this way. But it's like, he's not he was like, the reason why he pushed, he's like, get your lazy ass up out the fucking bed, Jason, is because he was also like, because he wants, it wasn't just about like, right, let's move along. It's like, you don't want to kick it back, relax and shaving and stuff. But I guess it's like, yeah, I'm letting things kind of play out. But it's like, no, we got to expedite things. Screw that. You know, Bruce want to talk his shit. I'm going to prove him wrong. It's like, you know, because it's like, right. Because at the very least, it's like, you can do whatever you want to, Jason, because the entire city is believes you're on their side. And you are on their side, Jason. You're on their side. So it's like, they'll believe whatever they need. Like, and it comes full circle in that regard, because we see that later on, but we'll get to it. But yeah, Jason calling out Nightwing, being like, yeah, let's end this. And even then at the end of the speech, he just kind of sits down, because it's like, yeah, this is, it's finally happening. Because I think, because he has an inferiority complex when it comes to, like, because Dick is everything that, like, he can never be. He was always, like, second fiddle. He was always in Dick's shadow. He was never good enough. It's like, I had Robin taken from me. Because when you think about it, it's like, Dick never lost being Robin. He tossed it away, whereas Jason was like, no, like, I had being Robin taken from me by Bruce. Dick never had to go through that. He got so many latitudes that I never got. I was always like second fiddle. It's like, this means everything. This is to me, like, what am I without being Robin? And obviously he was in the steps towards figuring that out. Bruce misstepped and took it away from him. And it's just like, rather than giving him the choice, like, you know, Bruce thought he was doing the right thing, but in fact he just sent things spiraling and made things worse, you know? So he's still trying to prove himself that, like, oh, he's better than Batman. I could do more for the city than Batman could. It's like, yeah, Penguin, Riddler, Joker. Like, I'm not just talking about those people. I'm talking about Batman and even the Titans. Yeah, they try to help out, but all they do is just make things worse. They're just in this for the glory, and it's just like, I guess somewhere along the way, you just assume you lost and start believing that you're just in this for the greater good of Gotham, that you are saving Gotham by burning it to the ground. It'll rise up, and like, everything will be under their control, and it won't be the Gotham it was anymore. It will be a new Gotham, like, not the Gotham that he's grown up in, not the Gotham that everyone's kind of known this entire time, that so many people have lost so much and suffered from. So we'll see. But like I said, just immediately afterwards, he kind of failed, because I think it was almost like that. His nerves were shot, because it's like, it's finally happening. This is it. Like, I got to end things between me and Dick. And it's like, it's still kind of like a surreal thing, I guess, for him, because regardless of him trying, it's what it all comes back to. I'm not afraid, you know, because Bruce kind of broke that into them, like, oh, you know, using your fear as a weapon and just stuff like that. And obviously that correlating to Scarecrow, who, like I said earlier, is officially, like, he's already batshit crazy, kind of went even further batshit crazy, because he basically is planning on cutting up the pizza guy. He's like, oh, I'll prove my mom wrong. You know, he's like, oh, I'm gonna cut, oh, what am I gonna do? The eye, the ear, should I cut your face a little bit? He's kind of like, yeah, but he can't bring himself to do it, because it's like, I can do this. Like, my mother isn't right about me. And it is just kind of like, yeah, he's hearing a voice in his head. It's himself being like, oh, she was. And he's like, what'd you say? He's like, the piece of dude's like gagged and everything, saying like, I didn't say anything, dude. I promise you I didn't. And it's just like, then seeing him cowering underneath, because for him it's like, who is Jonathan Crane without Scarecrow? Because without the mask, without the identity, like, he's just scared Jonathan Crane. It's like, right, easy to make other people afraid when you're basically projecting your issues onto other people, your inferiority, your insecurities, your quote unquote weakness, your fears, like, you're pushing that onto other people, because it's still the thing of like, right, he has to get other people to do his dirty work. So when it came down to do it himself, he couldn't, because he's usually manipulating others to get their hands dirty, like he is with Jason. And it's like getting his own hands dirty, like he did with his mother, but it's still just kind of like a type of thing. So I think, like, in those moments, he had to slip back into his Scarecrow persona to do it, and not just be Jonathan Crane. But in this moment, like, hearing that, like, right, this is a time no longer for mask, and he starts carving up his face. And then later on, we see the guy's body, very, like, surgically, he cut the dude open like he was, like, a mortician not mortician, but like a Emmy performing an autopsy. Like, the guy's, like, chest was, like, cut open like that. So there's that angle to things. But obviously, you had Dick trying not to have the face-to-face with Jason, because I don't know whether it's because he figured it on, like, he didn't want to, like, play into it, or whether he believed that, there legitimately was, like, he was hoping that if they came down to that, that would mean there would be no other way but to end it like that. So he wanted to find another way, but Jason already kind of blocked him out, of trying to, like, access, like, the Batcave stuff from Wayne Enterprises, like, back door and everything. But before he left, he opens up a door and they're like, there's a glowing green. I'm like, kryptonite? I was like, what do you need kryptonite for? I know that could be poisonous to people, as we've seen in Batwoman, but I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what are you gonna? But it's like, no, he used that against Connor and Crypto, because he knew, it's like, right, if I bring you guys along, it's like, no, it's up to me. Like, I think for him, it's like, I'm like, Bruce isn't here to face his failures. I've got to be the one to put Jason, because it's like, this is on me as kind of essentially his big brother, as his predecessor, as a Robin, as part of the Bat family. It's my responsibility to finally put him down. Like, so I don't know if he had it solidified in his head he was going to kill Jason, or what his necessary, like, thought process was at the time. Because at the same time, we also have, like, Gar and Rachel talking about everything that's kind of going down. And so Gar brings up, like, right, his belief about the Lazarus Pit. And so Rachel uses her powers and searches the sigil, and she finds her way to the building, which I love that Gar's just kind of like, oh, it smells like bagels. It's like, yeah, sure, Gar. Like, yeah, this place has got bagels and stuff like that. He's like, no would have sufficed. And I also love that, like, when it came to finding that little hole in the wall, he kind of walked behind her. He's like, yeah. You go first. I'm like, moments like that, I'm like, it kind of reminds me a little bit, like, there's little moments I'm like, I can definitely see, like, Beast Boy from, like, because my only experience with Beast Boy is, like, the Teen Titans cartoon, and, like, that kind of, like, whoa personality he has. Like, I feel like you get moments of that with Gar, especially in that moment hiding behind Rachel. I was like, that just feels like a definitely, like, that's not like I feel like I could see out of the Teen Titans cartoon is, like, Beast Boy doing something like that. It does make you wonder, like, why are all those, like, maybe there's something in the Lazarus Pit that attracts bats, because even Gar's like, I feel like they're, like, following me or something. But yeah, they ultimately end up finding the Lazarus Pit, because it's going to be the end-all be-all, like, result of it. But I'm curious, like, what will be the byproduct of that? Like, what will be the outcome of, like, you finding it? I mean, because it's interesting, because it's like, hey, Tim is alive, so no need for that. Donna's alive, so there's no need for that. Maybe Dick's going to need that. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm like, are you going to try reverse engineer, like, the Lazarus Pit or something like that? Like, what is going to, like, finding it? I mean, I guess maybe it's the main ingredient in what he does. Because, like I said, like, I know the Lazarus Pit has the power to make people go crazy in the Arrowverse, but I don't know if that's, like, always consistent across the board in other Batman stuff. Like I said, I don't think Gotham that was an issue, but maybe that's something that maybe it's popped up in different continuities, or maybe it's just Arrow alone that has it. I need to look into that, because I still haven't. I'll try to do that after this episode. But regardless, they found the Lazarus Pit, and at the same time, Dick, like I said, removed Connor and Crypto from the equation. He's planning to finish things with Jason, so showed up a couple minutes ahead and just kind of like, right, you always were never good at this game. You always fell for the bait. It's like, yeah, you're second fiddle to all of this. So, I love that, like, the moment the smoke bomb or whatever comes out, he's like, yeah, standard Batman stuff, using terror to, like, intimidate and stuff like that, which I'm almost like, aren't you doing the exact same thing, you freaking hypocrite? Like, everything you've been doing with, that's why I'm like, do you not see the hypocrisy? Like, you're just so blinded, and you're, once again, like, up your own ass so much you don't see the hypocrisy behind your words. And so ultimately, they duke it out in a very public place. He's just like, yeah, setting the stage. And I'm like, other people come out and they're rooting for Jason, obviously, but Dick has the upper hand of, like, yeah, there's some, like, blows exchanged, but it's still like, no, like, Dick's the way more experienced fighter. And it's just like, I mean, because to be fair, it's almost like, man, it's almost like the perpetual child, like, throwing a tantrum. That's all, like, Jason's actions have kind of proved to be. Like, that's, you can't help but feel that way. And in the end, it's almost just like Big Brother Big Brother Nightwing had to spank you in front of everybody, essentially. And at the end, he has a gun on Jason, and it's like, yeah, I'm the reason why you're kind of here and everything. And Dick is like, no, like, this all came about because of you. He's like, go ahead and finish it. But he didn't. But the crowd has, like, Jason's back, and they start shooting Nightwing. Luckily, the suit's bulletproof. And she's like, put the gun down, kid. I'm not trying to hurt you. Jason gets back up, and Dick tries to go after him, and the kid keeps shooting until he nicks Dick in the neck. And in that moment, like, everyone gathered around because the guy's like, I did it for you, Red Hood, Red Hood. And everyone starts cheering, and they proceed to start beating the crap out of Robin, who's bleeding out on the ground. And Jason's just kind of, like, terrified and runs away. He's like, isn't this what you wanted? Like, oh, you're scared now. Like, right, you didn't want that. You didn't, I guess you didn't think things would go down this way. It's like, you don't even have because to be fair, he had the opportunity to kill Dick before, after he got hit by the car, but he didn't. It's like, you can't finish the job, you're too scared to. Maybe in his mind, it's like, in his mind, he'll probably say something like that, like, oh, my fear got the best of me, and you know. And so he runs back to the Batcave and finds Jonathan in the state that he's in with the scarred up face. Is like, right, you lost your mask, good, because there's no need for mask anymore. So at the same time, Rachel feels what's happening to Dick, and their powers start running wild. Because she also had some regrets, because she even said it to, like, guards, like, I should have never left. He was like, no, you did what you needed to do. But for her, it's like, well, because she knows Donna's gone, but she doesn't know if, like, what became of that. Like, I don't know if she's thinking, like, oh, maybe they took Donna's bodies, because it doesn't seem like she knows that Donna's alive or whatever. So it's kind of like, I have nothing to show for it. But now her powers go wild, because she's like, yeah, something happened to Dick. And so I don't know if she's going to, like, try and bring him to the Lazarus pit to save him in that regard. Because Dick had that vision of kind of getting shot in the chest, and he saw that when he saw Tim, but it's like, that ended up happening to Corey. He did get shot, though, so that's why I'm like, I don't know what those visions are. Like, I don't know what that's supposed to be. This, like I said, maybe on some level it is subconsciously Rachel doing it, not even realizing it, but I just feel like that can and most likely isn't the case. But I just don't know what else that could be, like all these visions, you know. And it's specifically like, it could just be like Dick's just kind of like a little scatterbrained just because of just, you know, the concussion and everything, so maybe that's all there was to it. Could be. But it just seemed too specific and stuff like that. But, you know, maybe. And Corey's situation is maybe it's just, like I said, such a subconscious, like, implanted memories that if anything ever came down to it, like, or maybe it's just her OG powers slowly creeping out the entire time, and they gave her, like, the peek into the past. I don't know. A lot of questions. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where everything takes us going forward to the next episode. There's only 2 episodes left this season, I believe. Yeah, because typically I think the season's only 13 like last season as well. So I think there's only 2 episodes left. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how things play out going forward to the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.